What is going on, everybody? This is the Pro Digital Gear YouTube channel, and today we are going to be setting up the Epson F570 Pro, and we're going to show you how to install Edge Print Pro, and we will also show you some of the features of this software as well. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing we're naturally going to want to do is open up our box. We can also pull out the second set of inks in the styrofoam, put them in this box, and put them aside for later. Then we have our extension to our paper tray. We have our manuals and guides. Let's go ahead and take this styrofoam out. But do not throw that away yet, because hidden in the styrofoam is an extra maintenance tank. Okay, now we can get rid of our styrofoam and get rid of our box. In the front of the printer, we have our 3 rolls of media, one 24-inch and 2 17-inch rolls of the Epson multi-use transfer paper. Okay, let's take the plastic off the printer. Now, we have a printer stand for the F570. You might not have this, but you can order this from us if you'd like. With the magic of editing, we are going to put the printer onto the stand. And also, we're going to remove our shipping pallet. Now, let's go ahead and remove all of the blue plastic protective tape off of the printer. We have some more manuals and guides on the top. You're going to have to open up the top cover to remove all the plastic tape that's on the inside here. There's also some styrofoam blocks that we have to remove from the printer spindle. We should probably do this carefully, especially with this tape here. This string right here is attached to a lock that's on the track where the printhead goes. Okay, let's open up the cover for the printhead. Carefully want to remove this blue tape right here because it is directly attached to the printhead. We can also see the string that was attached to the lock that's on the track where the printhead goes across. To remove it, we have to turn it counterclockwise and then pull up, and it should come right out. Now we can close the top cover. So let's go ahead and open up our ink door and get ready to install our inks. Now, if we flip up these blue covers here, we can see this rubber piece right here. Now, if we flip it into this position and cover the tiny little air tubes, this would only be for the purpose of transportation. So it's best to leave this alone for now. If we were to install the inks covering those air tubes, the ink install would not work properly. So for now, we want to leave this alone in the original position. Next, let's open up the ink, and then we want to gently agitate the containers. I do them all at once like this. And then we can go ahead and uncap the inks. You could do this one by one, or if you want to do them all together, that's fine too. Let's go ahead and flip over our black ink and fill in that reservoir. Now, our manual and Epson recommends that we only fill it up to this very top mark right here. We don't want to go any further than that line. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with our magenta ink. Go ahead and do the same thing for our yellow. Again, remember only to fill up to the top line. And then finally, we can do our cyan. Okay, that's it. As you can see on the back of the printer, right here, you'll find your maintenance tank. One should already be installed on the F570. Okay, let's go ahead and plug in our printer. And then we can plug in our USB cable, or we can plug in our Ethernet cable. All right, we can flip up our screen and power on the printer. Choose our language. Epson thanks us for our purchase. Then we can choose the date format and enter in the date. Then we can choose the time format and then enter in our time. Epson just wants to confirm that we filled up our ink reservoirs, which we did. Then let's go ahead and hit start. Then our printer will begin initializing, and then we are going to get to our main screen. Now at this point we can load in some paper, but since we're going to be doing some test prints, I'm just going to load in some 8.5 by 11 plain paper. As you can see, when we put in the 8.5 by 11 into the sheet feeder, the paper type and paper size selection automatically comes up. We can choose the general purpose textile, even though we have 8.5 by 11 plain paper in there. Again, our paper size is the 8.5 by 11, so we'll choose that. Then we can go to our settings menu, go to our maintenance menu, and then to printhead nozzle check. Since we already loaded paper, we can just press start. Then the F570 will print out a nozzle check. As you can see, the F570 printed out a pattern for each ink color that is in the printer. Now, if these lines look nice and clean, that means that we don't need to do a cleaning cycle. Now we can go ahead and do a print quality adjustment. Again, I'm just going to load in some 8.5 by 11 for this. So our paper source and paper size should be the same. Then we can go ahead and click OK and hit start. Now the F570 is going to print out some patterns, and then we have to choose the printed image that matches the circled image on the screen the closest. On the print, there's a number next to each pattern. Whichever one closest matches the image on the screen that is circled, that's the one that we have to enter here. As you can see, we can select plus or minus to change the number. Ours was 0, so we're going to move on to alignment number 2. Same thing, enter in the number, and then move on to alignment 3. Same thing for alignment 3, and for alignment 4. Both of those were at 0 for us. Then we can go ahead and click OK, and the printer is going to print out another page. So we need to go ahead and load in another 8.5 by 11 sheet. The printer is going to print out another set of alignment images. Again, we're basically repeating what we just did with different images and different alignments. Now, on alignment 3 for us, we had to choose 4. Everything else was 0. Again, this might be totally different with your printer, so make sure you look at your images carefully and enter in the correct numbers for your printer. And we're done, so we're going to go ahead and click OK. Now we are ready to install Epson EdgePrint Pro. Here you can see your serial number. Now at the time that I'm making this video, there's currently no Epson EdgePrint Pro for Mac, but I'm running a Windows VirtualBox, so I'll be able to show you how installation works. So the first thing that we need to do is install our regular Epson driver. We can go to epson.com, and since we're in the USA, it's redirecting us to epson.com/USA. And if we type in under the search, the F570, before we even hit enter, we have some options that come up, and we can see the F570 Pro. And we're going to click on the support link that's right there. Now downloads is already selected, so let's expand the drivers section and download the drivers and utilities combo package installer. Now if you're on Chrome, you can easily open that up by clicking on the download in the bottom left corner of the screen. First we click yes, then we click OK, The installation will open up. We'll choose our language. We'll accept, install everything, connecting to the server, which can take a little bit, but it's going to begin to install the Epson drivers and utilities. The Epson net config box comes up. Skipping ahead. There we go. Go ahead and click next. Then we confirm that our ink is charged, which it is. And in this case, I'm connecting to the printer via a wired network connection. And this printer is not set up on our network yet, so we're going to choose Setup Printer for the first time. Next, it's going to ask us if we plugged in our printer to the network, which we did, and then click Next to begin the network installation. Fast forwarding a little, and this box might pop up. Apparently there is a firmware update for my printer, so I'm going to leave that on yes and update the firmware by hitting Next. The firmware updater will pop up. We can click Start, and the software will update the firmware on the printer. Then we can click Finish. Now the software is going to run the Epson registration. I usually do this after, so I'm just going to X out of that for now. Then we can click Finish. Awesome. Now the Epson F570 Pro driver is installed. Now we need to go to support.epson.net/EEP/. EEP is probably short for Epson EdgePrint Pro. Now it brings us to a special site for the Epson EdgePrint Pro download. The first thing we need to do is download Epson EdgePrint Pro. And then the second thing we need to do is download the software for our 500 series printer. We can see the SC F500 series, and it tells us that we need to first install the EdgePrint software, and then we can install the model information file. Once those are both downloaded, we can first install Epson EdgePrint. So in order to install that, this is a zip file, and first we're going to have to extract it somewhere on our computer. I'm just going to put mine right on my desktop. Now we can open the application file, then click Yes, then click Next, and that we accept the agreement, if you do, of course. Then go ahead and hit Next, accept again, and I'm going to leave the desktop icon checked, and then click Install. Now, we might have to install some other device software as well, so we can click Install as we go through these. And at this point, the installation of EdgePrint is finished, and we're going to have to restart our computer. Now we need to install the printer information file. And first, of course, we need to extract that. Again, I'm just going to extract it to our desktop. Then I'm going to run the application file. Go ahead and click Install. And that is it for the F500 information file. Now we can close all these windows. And we can see the Epson EdgePrint Pro desktop icon, and we can open that up. So step 1 is license authentication. So let's first hit start, then yes. I'm going to do an online authentication and hit proceed. Now with the disk that we got with our printer, there was a serial number inside the case of the Edge Print software. This is where you will enter that in. When you're done with that, go ahead and click proceed. Then your license is going to authenticate. When it's done, we can go ahead and click finish. Now we can register our printer. Let's go ahead and click start. And provided that our printer is plugged in correctly, it should pop up here after it searches. We can click on our printer and then hit register. Okay, that's it. Edge Print should pop up. We can see our options at the top here: File, Job, Tool, and Help. I'm going to click on File and Add to the job list. Or you can click this Add button right here. I have a Pro Digital Gear image that I'm going to open up, and as you can see, it pops up in the job list and also in the layout area. Now all the way to the right, you can see the many tabs inside Edge Print. The Job Info tab is currently open. If we click on Basic Settings, we can see our media settings, roll paper, or cut sheet, the media size, medium name, and then print quality. We have some resolution and pass options here. In advanced settings, we have bi-directional printing, input resolution, anti-aliasing, before print margins, drying time, auto cut, and image interpolation. Next, we have the layout menu. Now we have the option to just expand the image like this with our mouse, or we can manually enter in numbers. And if we click these arrow buttons here, we can see our image move around. We can grab it in the middle and move it around as well. We can rotate our image. We have centering. We also have an arrangement option. And if we want to, we can easily add another job to our list. As you can see, our layout settings stick to the job that we are on, even if it's the same exact image. Now let's go over to color settings. Under color settings, we have our CMYK profile, our CMYK rendering intent, black point compensation, pure black, preserve black, and preserve CMYK primaries. We also have our RGB profile. You can see there's Adobe RGB 1998. Then we have our rendering intent, black point compensation, and pure black checkboxes as well. We also have a color replacement tab. We can zoom in on our image by clicking this button here. Then click our edit button and click on a color that we want to replace. As you can see, that color comes up. We have the input color in RGB. We also have CMYK and we can adjust those options. And we can also delete the selected changes that we just made. Now let's move over to the Mark tab. We can put marks on our print. We can select our mark type. We have frame lines and other options. We can target each image or all images. And we can manually input our margins. We can also check job label, and under that we have file name, printer name, ripping start date, media settings, layout, color settings, and comments. Okay, now let's move over to the crop tab. If we want to, we can enable the setting and then crop in on our image. We can do it with the mouse like this, or with the numbers on the side. We also have a tiling tab. There's tons of options here for tiling with our image. Now, if we have tiling enabled, we won't be able to go to step and repeat. With it disabled, we can go to step and repeat, then to enable setting, and we have options for layout patterns and repeating. And on the top left of the screen here, we have our rip option. We can also cancel that. We have our print option. And then we can cancel that. Now we can see both images are in idle. We have an option for nesting. We can unnest as well through this menu. We can delete our images. Now under Tool, we have some preferences. We have some general preferences, RIP server preferences, data storage, RIP options, cut path. We have some bit depth options. Here we can add our cut path. Under Printer, We can either register a new printer, or we can unregister a printer, and we can see the printer that's already registered. We also have our hot folder and a license tab. We can add a new license or delete our current one. Under Job, we have Copy, Delete, Rip, Print, Hold, and Nest. Under Tool, we have Manage Preset, Preferences, and Backup and Restore. Under Help, we have Help, Download Site, and Version. Under File, we have Add to Job List, Add Test Job to Job List, and Exit. So that pretty much does it for Epson Edge Print. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all about the Epson F570 Pro or Edge Print Pro, feel free to give the knowledgeable staff at Pro Digital Gear a call, 1-888-459-1482. Send us an email at sales@prodigitalgear.com, and feel free to visit our website, www.prodigitalgear.com. Definitely check out the rest of our videos on our YouTube channel, especially if you love printing. And if you could, give us some likes and subscribe. From the staff at Pro Digital Gear, thank you so much for watching, and happy printing.